plants. So I'm gonna pull that one off the pipe, as that creates some head space in shade. So Peyton, you can mess with that and keep breaking that heel down for us. What's up, y'all? This is Ty with Barking Squirrel Homestead. It's been a minute since we've given you guys any kind of update on new things, so I want to kind of catch you up on the animal situation and what's going on with that. And then also, as you can see by the title of the video, this is going to be like a master class. And I've been telling you that I was going to show you how to do the wicking tubs, but I hadn't done one yet. We did a couple the other night for some tomatoes, and we've got the rest of our tomatoes to get in. And I want to show you guys how I make my wicking tubs. The babies, they're doing okay. We're having a hard time keeping enough food and water in here for them, which has never been an issue before. But here, we can get over here. Remember, I'll get out of the way. We can see them. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
She's gonna give them one a drink over there.
I had to move the water.
They're over here begging for water. They're so thirsty. I think that's our issue. We need to probably get another water bottle.
Yeah, they were all huddled.
They're fighting over it.
Can we give him one?
Yeah, that's fine.
He's over there by the fence.
Probably laying in that cool mud over there. But they're doing good. We're down to 7 though. We've lost, or no, is it down to 6 now?
Yeah, I'm down to 6 now.
Down to 6. So we've lost. We had 11 originally born.
3 died after birth.
Had 1 that was stillborn.
Yeah.
Had 2 more that died.
I think Mama crushed a couple.
Yeah, kind of crushed a couple in her box.
Room.
And then
I need you to get out
we've had some die over here, and we think it's because a couple of the bigger ones are kind of hogging the water and the food. So we've got 2 feed dishes in here now. We need to get a second waterer in here. But they have this cage, lots of room to run around. The baby chicks, not so baby anymore, they are ready to be butchered. Look at them monstrous things. They're starting, a couple of them the size of turkey hens. All right, so just update on the garden. So you can see this is full of weeds. However, there are carrots. These are carrots, carrots, carrots. You kind of see the difference in the leaves right there. Those are carrots, carrots, carrots. So there's a lot of weeds in here, but there's a lot of carrots in here. And so we're kind of letting them grow up so we can really distinguish what's what. And then we're gonna start weeding it. There's some carrots that are doing well mixed in with some weeds. So we're gonna have to do some weeding in here and check that out. Some of them may be carrots and we just don't realize that that's what they are. Dig down here and see what this is. Yeah, see, that's just a weed. That's not a carrot, that's just a weed. And so we're gonna have to get that all weeded out. Our pile of dirt there is gonna have to get busted down and turned and cleaned up so we can get our watermelons and pumpkins planted over there. These are our onions. They are doing really well, phenomenally well. The potatoes are looking amazing. Look at all of that. Really, really well. So all of them doing well. Our frost did not kill them. These are the radishes here, both of these tubs. So we ought to have a good harvest of radishes. Oh, in fact, look at that big boy right there. I'd say that's ready to harvest. That is nice already. Goodness gracious. So lots of radishes, ought to be good. These are those Japanese onions, so we're letting them grow out. These are our pepper plants, so we're starting to see some fruit popping up on some of these. The frost hit almost all these plants. That one and those are the only ones that really didn't get hit. The rest of these got hit. So they're starting to bounce back, but they're slow in coming back. Our lettuces have done fabulous. So is the spinach. We're starting to get some bugs that are getting here, so I need to put some, we use diatomaceous earth, and that's how we take care of our plants with bugs. So we need to get diatomaceous earth. So we'll do our watering, and then after our watering, let it dry out just a little bit, and then we're going to sprinkle these with diatomaceous earth. So, all right, our zucchini and squash are coming back. So we lost this one plant here during the frost, so we need to get it dug up and taken out of there. We can plant something else in that middle section, but these are starting to come back. Looks like we've only got the one yellow squash that survived. The rest of these are all zucchinis, it looks like, but we'll have to check those out. Cucumbers are starting to thrive. We lost a cucumber down here, lost one over here. That one's trying to come back. I don't know if it will. These are picking up pretty good. And then we've got all new cucumbers right here. So what we'll do is where these need to be thinned out, like there's too many in here and too many in here, we'll put some over in that one, and we'll spread these out a little bit for spacing. And then we'll eventually start. These actually are going to need a trellis, so we got a surprise for that and how we're going to trellis these and our cucumbers as well. Blueberry bush actually has blueberries growing on it, which is exciting. We didn't think we'd see fruit this year, but we're actually getting some blueberries already. So that's a self-pollinating plant. They will pollinate on their own, but they're better if you have two. We didn't feel like we need all that many blueberries, and so we felt like we were safe with one. But we have some blueberries on the first one, so we're excited about that. Blackberry, I'm hoping some of you maybe can give us some advice. It's not even trying. And that was a brand new plant from Lowe's or Home Depot, one of those two, but it hadn't even tried to fruit out like with any leaves or stems or anything. So we're thinking that it was a bad one, and we're probably going to find a live bush somewhere on a fence line and try to do a cutting off of that so we can start with something that we know is healthy. But anyways, need help there. These are our tomatoes. They're doing pretty good. We're already starting to get some fruit on them. There's a couple more over there. But these are the two wicking tubs that we started with, and we're going to do a total of 6 wicking tubs in this area right here that's all tomatoes. And so we've got 4 more tubs to do, and we'll get to that. Okay, so here's the wicking tubs. These are wicking tubs. They're actually called licking tubs, and what they are from is like cattlemen or equestrians will use these. They have minerals in there, usually molasses mixed with a bunch of grains and minerals, salts, things like that, that they will put out into their pastures so that their cattle or their horses can lick that. A lot of people will use them for other animals as well, but these are predominantly for cattle. And it depends on what you buy, where you buy it, that type of thing. But that's what these are for. I take them and they get cleaned up, and then I put a hole in them just like that. It's about a 3/4 inch to 1 inch hole right there. And then I take these pieces of pipe, and you can use 2-liter pop bottles, you can use milk jugs, you can use pretty much anything that will take up space but hold water and leach out. And this is the way it leaches out. You can see the slits in the pipe. I just put 3 chunks in there to take up space in the bottom of it. Notice this hole is about 1 inch below the top of this pipe, okay? Here's what that does. When this water fills up in here, that water will only go as high as this hole before it drains out. So if it ever rains too much and fills up, it will drain out that hole, preventing you from root rot with flooding your plants. The other thing though, is with these pipes in here, these pipes hold a reservoir of water. Okay, dirt will fill up these spots, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. These sides, dirt will fill everything else up. Those pipes will hold a reservoir of water that will then leach up through those leaching holes. They'll seep out into the soil. So that allows for long watering cycles. You don't have to water it as much. The reason there's a space here with 1 inch gap between the hole and the top of the pipe is that creates an head space or an air gap. So that creates an air pocket that's in the top of each one of these pipes. That's important because it requires the air in the soil. Otherwise, it will become stagnant and it will rot. You'll end up with mold in your soil, which will kill your plants as well. So you have to have the air circulating, you have to have the drain hole, and you have to have the water retention. And so that's what all 3 of those pieces of pipe will be. And I know you're like, well, how is it going to retain water with the slits in the pipe? I'll explain that as you watch me build this. We're going to take landscape fabric, put 2 pieces of landscape fabric filling this entire thing in. The dirt goes inside the landscape fabric, and then we take a piece of this pipe here. And here's the other thing about this. This needs to be 1.5 inches minimum, up to 2 inches, so that you can fit the nozzle of your hose into it. You want it just long enough that it reaches above the dirt line, okay? And you want to cut a bevel into the end. Don't have to be precise, just eyeball it, but you want a bevel in it. That's because if it was flat and stuck down, it would fill up with dirt, or could get clogged up at the bottom and water's not going to flow. You want a bevel on it so that the tip keeps it standing up with a gap in it to allow water to flow easily. And then it just sits in there. Bring your hose over, put your water in there. It'll fill up those reservoirs, it'll come out that hole down there, and you know it's done watering, and you won't have to water it for about a week. So next, I'm going to get started. These 3 tubs do not have holes in them yet, so I've got to drill those holes. We've got to cut some more pieces to put in there. Then we're going to take all of the landscape fabric that's been pre-cut, and we're going to start putting that in here, and you guys are going to watch us build these. All right, guys, so here's what I'm going to do. These tubs do not have a hole in them, so if I take this, which is the pipe that I'm using, and I put it down at the base of it, I look, what I want, it doesn't have to be exact, but I want about 1 inch of headspace in there. So I'm just gonna give me a hole started, so you can see I've kind of started that, so I know where to start with. And then we're just gonna, it's an old paddle bit, doesn't have to be super sharp, it's going through plastic. We're just gonna cut a hole or burn a hole or whatever happens here. Now you don't want to put too much pressure. These will crack, especially if it's colder. Right now it's not too bad, but you don't want to put a lot of pressure so you don't crack it. And there we go. And then you can look down that and you'll see that will create headspace with air for an air pocket in there. Okay. All right, bring me another tub. Peyton, you want to get that? Now it's important to make sure you don't have any other holes or cracks in these. These are prone to cracking across the bottom. If that happens, they're useless as a wicking tub because you're never gonna get that to seal up again. I don't care what you use. I've tried everything. They just will not seal up. So if it cracks, you're gonna have to start from scratch. They can give me that last blue one there. Nope, that one's fine. It already has a hole. Bring me that one. Yep. Dump those out. There we go. Simple as that. All right, now we're gonna need, here, hand me those three pieces of pipe there. And here. We'll put that right up to the hole like that. And we're gonna put these pieces in here, kind of at an angle behind it. You can tell they're all different shapes and sizes. I mean, it's all the same diameter, but they're different lengths, I guess is what I meant to say. They don't have to be any specific length, okay? You're just wanting to get the bulk of the bottom covered with these so you hold as much water as possible. And it also fills up the space so you don't fill it up with dirt. You could get one piece of pipe and put it in there and that'd be perfectly fine. Just cover one end to the other and that would work fine. But I'm trying to take up more area. That gives me more water holding, more air circulation, and less dirt to fill it up. All right, Peyton, if you would hand me 2 of those pieces of fabric behind you. Now, these are a little bit of a pain in the neck because they're rectangular-ish in shape, and so they don't fit in a circular hole, so you kind of tuck them down in there. You want to make sure that you keep some of it up over the edge, and you want to make sure that you keep that one piece of pipe facing that hole right there. The rest of them can move around. That one cannot, okay? So you want to keep that like that. I'll take you another piece. I'll finish filling this up, or covering this up like this. And as the dirt fills up in here, it'll pull the sides down. So you want to leave excess hanging over for it when it pulls it down in there. Now, the last thing is I need a piece of that white pipe there. Peyton, will you get that? Sarah? Oh, fine. This is the white pipe, and what we'll do is on this side where the hole's at, we don't want to put this. We want to put this opposite of that, because the hole's here. If we fill it up here, water's going to fill up here first, obviously, before it starts dispersing out, especially when it's having to work its way through this. So we want to put it kind of off to the side. It doesn't have to be complete in the back, but you want it off to the side. So what you do is, it's important, between the fabric and the tub, you just stand it up like that. Make sure it gets down past the fabric. And then what I do, Peyton, there's a knife in that wheelbarrow there. Okay. What I do is I actually will, you don't have to do this, but I will cut a hole in my fabric and put it around that pipe, and that'll hold it kind of in place for me while I'm putting the dirt in there, so I'm not fighting the dirt the entire time, right? So I want to double check and make sure that that pipe is over that hole. We're good there. Everything's good there. So let's just stand that up. Just need to go around it. All right, now the dirt mix. Dirt mix is 3 parts. We've got our regular topsoil over here that's really got a lot of, it's got more clay in it than I prefer it to have, but it's not super bad. So we've got this topsoil there. We've got some compost, some regular garden raised bed compost that you can kind of see here, like this. It's a little sandier, a little more loamy. It's got more broke down sticks and leaves and things like that, so like compost. And then we mix some potting mix in there. The reason for the potting mix is the potting mix is going to help us wick up. If you just use soil or even the compost, it's not going to do as well in wicking the water up to the top. And you want to wick that water from the bottom. That's why we call them wicking tubs. We want to wick that water up to the top. We want the roots to suck it up. This potting mix has the material in it that will wick that water up, and we use either the Miracle Grow potting mix. That's what I prefer. We happen to have some of this from Sam's Club Members Mark brand. Either one is fine, but you want a potting mix, and so it's equal parts. We do 3 parts. It's a 3-part mixture, so the topsoil, the compost, and the potting mix, and so that's what we're going to mix together right now.
Go.
All right. So we've mixed this up. I've turned it over much like you would a concrete or something like that. But much like you would a concrete mix, a mud mix, this has got those 3 parts of soil that I was talking about. So we're going to start putting those in. I'm going to put them around my pieces of pipe because I want to get those set into place first. Once I get a few shovelfuls down in around the pipe, then we can just start tossing it in. And we've mixed it up, that way it's got a little bit of everything all through the mixture. Wicking properties, nutrient properties, You want to bust up any big clumps, especially if there's clay in them. What's up? Is that a piece of plastic or trap? Just a piece of grass. So. You want to fill it up pretty good, pretty high, really all the way to the top. It doesn't have to be exactly to the top, but you want to get it up there, and the reason for that is because as water gets into it, it will pack down over time. And that's fine, that works great, doesn't hurt anything. What you'll do is the next year, take it, and when you get ready to start planting, you'll bust that soil up that's in there. Just bust it up with a little hand rake or hand shovel, that type of thing. Bust up the soil that you used this year and add to it some compost. You don't need to add anything else to it, but you can add to it some compost, maybe a little fertilizer, pellets or something along those lines. But it'll already be primed, ready to go for you for the next year. And you'll have room in it to add the soil you need to get that done. So that is one of our wicking tubs. Those aren't rocks, that's just dried out dirt and manure mixed in there. You're kind of seeing some of the dry spots, clumps. But we're going to get the rest of these filled up, and then we're going to get them into place, and then after they're in place, we'll show you planting the tomatoes and how to do So I'm going to start planting right here, and then we'll move over there and do these while we wait on her to get the rest of the dirt for that. So remember to come in here, take a look at these. So these are a German queen, which are an heirloom style tomato. We like to keep the tags, that way we know what's what in each one, of course. We're going to slip those back there, but both of these are going to be these German queens. So the soil's pretty moist. What I want to do is I want to be careful. I'm going to put my fingers underneath it. I'm going to squeeze that plastic. I want to break it if I don't have to, because we can reuse those next year for planting seedlings. But we're going to, you see the roots around all of this. What we want to do is we want to kind of take the bottom and break it open like that. We'll break up the roots a little bit. You don't want to tear them, but you want to drop them flattened out like that so they can kind of spider out into the dirt. You want to kind of flatten out the base of it like that. And then you build the dirt around it, okay? Bring the dirt up to it. And you want to come right up to this, I call it the bell. I don't know what the technical name for it is, but you want to make sure all your leaves are above ground. So you want to come right up to the base of it here, where your first shoots are off the bottom of it, and then push down, okay? So bring all the dirt into it. And you want to push down, make sure your stalks are kind of vertical as much as possible, bust up any clumps, and then just kind of seed it in there. That's all you're going to do. We got this one as well. Just like that. Bring the dirt into it. See how these first shoots are right down here? I'm going to bring that dirt right up to that edge, like that. And just seed it in there. And that's it. Bust up your clumps. We're going to leave those in there. And then what we'll do is we will water it in really good on the top. The soil's already very moist, but we're gonna water it in right here, and then we'll fill up that reservoir as well. For the first couple of days, 2-3 days tops, we will go ahead and water the top of the soil. That's just so the roots set in right off the bat and begin to trek into the new soil. Within the first week, they will begin to wick the water up from the bottom. But for the first 2 or maybe 3 days, we want to water the top of this. After that, we don't have to water the top. We can give it a little sprinkle, but all we have to do is fill up that reservoir. So we're going to move over here. Kind of fill this one up. So we have more soil. That one's not quite full enough. Now these wicking tubs will do 2 plants like this. If you're doing the buckets and you plant in those, you can do the same thing. You can even create those into wicking buckets. I didn't do that with these. But if you put tomatoes in buckets, only one plant per bucket. With these tubs though, there's plenty of soil and plenty of water, and enough support in the soil to hold 2 plants. So these will, as long as you cage them properly or allow something to vine them and to keep the stalks from breaking on, these will hold that perfectly fine. And that is it, y'all. So we've got our tomatoes in. You guys have pretty well seen everything else. Probably this week we're going to start thinning out these cucumbers. They're getting big enough that we'll be able to transplant some over. And then in probably the next week, we're going to have to get these trellises up for the squash and zucchini. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button. And as always, I love you. God loves you. If you ain't in the Word, get in it and stay in it.